You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, where you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of December 5th, 2025. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we cannot believe we stayed up Tuesday night to watch the returns from a Trump plus 22 congressional district. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal.
And really, single digits in a Trump plus 22 district.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt. That's going to hurt them more than it hurt us.
That was the people giving Trump a single digit, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And they spent a ton of money there, invested a lot, and they're going to have to do that everywhere now because there are many, many districts that are less red than that district.
Yes, indeed. There certainly are.
Yep. I want to start today by wishing everyone a happy Zappadan.
Ooh.
Frank Zappa died on December 4th, the night now known as Bummernacht, and was born earlier, they tell me, on December 21st, day 0 of Zappadan, back in 2006. So
Ooh.
This is the 11th anniversary of Zappadan, right?
No fair remembering stuff, Blue Gal. That's the before time
anniversary.
But that's the before time.
19th. I can't do math.
It's the 19th.
19th anniversary of Zappadan. Next year will be the 20th anniversary of Zappadan.
But that's the before time. You're not allowed to remember the before time. I know.
But back then, in 2006, the blog known as The Aristocrats, which actually invited me to join them, which I was very honored. They are now completely defunct.
Yeah.
But they declared that December 4th through December 21st should henceforth be known as Zappadan. Mm-hmm. The days of the year between death and birth, that ethereal time when there was no Frank. So we must celebrate him to keep his spirits safe until his birthday again. No, that's not what it is. It is an excuse for a party that has nothing to do with the greed and debt festival known as Christmas in America. And it is a labor of love, with the hope that Frank would be proud. The gentleman who started Mike's Blog Roundup, Mike Finnegan.
Yeah.
He was a Hammond organ player. He played for
Joe Cocker.
Joe Cocker. We saw him play background music for Joe Cocker. And he also knew Frank Zappa.
Yes, he did. And
I remember at the time, during 2006, saying to Mike on email, I really think Frank Zappa would, I have a strange feeling that Frank Zappa would really like that we're doing Zappadan. And Mike said, because he would.
Because he would. Yeah.
So, Now, here's the deal. Some people say, and I know I'm saying some people say, that the miracles of Zappadan stuff is a bunch of hooey, but I disagree. During the first Zappadan in 2006, UN Ambassador John Bolton resigned.
John Bolton, ever heard of him?
Ever heard of him?
Uh-huh.
He resigned as UN ambassador under Bush.
Aw.
And then the year after that, one of my fellow bloggers at the Aristocrats, who went by the name Sandy Underpants, went to the Registry of Motor Vehicles during Zappadan and got a new license plate with no lines, no waiting, and free donuts. Huh. So I am telling you people, during Zappadan, expect miracles.
If I may quote,
and when you have a miracle, make sure you attribute it to it being a Zappadan miracle.
If I may quote Dune 2.
Anytime.
It is the prophecy.
It is the prophecy. Yes, well, it is.
Another Zappadan miracle, Blue Gal.
Yes.
Apparently, the Professional Left podcast is booming, girl. Because today we're excited to welcome not one, but two new completely fake sponsors to our roster of fake sponsors.
Amazing.
It is amazing. I don't know how we're doing it, but we're doing it great.
Fake sponsors tripping over themselves.
Really. Just can't get enough of those fake sponsors. The first is from your friends and ours over at Cressidian Biosciences. You're probably already familiar with their most popular products. The most popular one they have is Damitol, and then there's Anomiacaine. This week, they're rolling out their newest pharmaceutical solution to a political problem. Its brand on the market is Amendex 25. Are you suffering from televised cabinet meetings lasting more than 3 hours? Is your dear leader spending all night sending insane rants out over social media and spewing racist bile at those cabinet meetings and falling asleep while his lackeys praise him? Then Amendex 25 might be right for you. Warning, I'm legally required to tell you that invoking the 25th Amendment to remove a president from office requires a vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president unfit for duty by sending a written statement to Congress. The vice president would then become the acting president. If the president contests this declaration, and you damn well know he would, Congress must vote with a 2/3 majority in both houses of Congress, House and Senate. That would be required to keep the vice president on as acting president. Warning, side effects may include violent MAGA riots, knife fights on the floor of Congress, tanks in the streets, stock market crashes, and, worst of all, 3 years of J.D. Vance.
Our second fake sponsor is Fog of War Whiskey. Do you have a very important high-profile job where you are responsible for the lives of more than 2 million American servicemen and women? A job for which you aren't even remotely qualified? And are the obvious war crimes you have committed, which are now coming to light, yielding the terrifying possibility of accountability suddenly breathing down your neck? Relax, brother. Just take a breath and reach for the incompetent delinquent's best friend, Fog of War brand whiskey. At the bottom of every bottle, you'll find alibis, exoneration, and maybe even the notion that you somehow deserve praise. Because you're the real hero. Fog of War brand whiskey, because accountability is for cowards, man.
Man, two of the finest, highest order fake sponsors we've ever gotten on board. So proud, so proud. So in today's language lesson, we're going to focus on the word sacral. Sacral, look it up. Not, quote, of, relating to, or lying near the sacrum, meaning of that word, but rather it's of, for, or relating to sacred rites or symbols, meaning. That meaning of that word. And don't run away. This is not a preacher podcast. We're not going to tell you about the Bible. We're not going to convert you. Because first we have to talk about Mark Halperin.
Oh, no.
Which is making us all it's making us all very sad. But don't worry. This will all make sense in the end. It'll all come together one big, beautiful, long story. A popular liberal YouTuber, Hawk, has asked a deeply existential question. It's a question we have about many, many pundits and legacy media hacks over the decades. And you know what? We have never gotten an answer to that question.
There have been a lot of things over the course of 2025, now that it's December 2nd, I guess. There have been a lot of things that have happened this year that have been wildly unnecessary. And I feel like the return of Mark Halperin and his work boner is one of those things. I don't really think that there was a constituency out there after he got canceled for allegedly rubbing his work boner through his pants on the arms, shoulders, and backs of his female coworkers back in the day. I really don't feel like there was a constituency out there going, you know, I really wish that I could hear what Mark Halperin thinks about this issue. I really don't feel like there was a constituency for that anywhere in the United States. But, you know, because Mark Halperin is a mediocre white man and allegedly has a very mediocre work boner, he, of course, is making a comeback, and somebody is giving him and his work boner a platform to make a comeback. Why? Why?
If for some foul reason you need more Halperin in your life, you can find Michael Smerconish inviting him onto his Sirius XM radio program. You can also find him on the Megyn Kelly racist torture porn show saying shit like this.
The Democrats are still addicted to two things. They're addicted to hating Trump, and they're addicted to being protected by the legacy media.
Which is not a surprise, considering Halperin's own podcast is part of Megyn Kelly Media. He was also on the Andrew Sullivan podcast a few weeks ago. Quote, Mark Halperin uncovering presidents. He dishes about his early days and today, from Clinton to Trump 2.0, unquote.
Mark Halperin on the Andrew Sullivan podcast.
We live in the worst timeline, Blue Gal.
We live in the worst timeline, Drift Glass. I swear to God.
Yeah, I've never been invited on either the Halperin or the Sullivan podcast or Tim Miller. Tim Miller, look, I'll come on your podcast and I'll dodge your questions and weep openly. How's that?
I was going to say I'd wear a blonde wig and dodge his questions and weep too.
I'm not ready to answer that question on camera. You wrote a fucking book and you're here to promote a book. You don't want to answer questions about the book. So yeah, I'll do that for you, Tim. Then I get to ask you questions about why the fuck do you hate liberals so much when we're right about everything? Anyway. Continue on, Blue Gal.
Yahoo News.
Oh, boy.
Quote, Katie Miller has attempted to explain why her husband, President Donald Trump's henchman, Stephen Miller, I'm not going to say what I want to happen to him.
No, don't do it. You're thinking
I just won't do it. Okay.
Just think it. Think it to yourself.
Yeah. Think about Rafe Fiennes in Schindler's List and what happened to him. Okay. But anyway, Katie Miller has attempted to explain why her husband melts down on camera and why there's no chance she's going to rein him in.
Is she Stephen Miller's wife, Blue Gal?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
and mother of his children, plural.
Oh, great.
She sat down with ex-network star commentator. Now, there's a lot to unpack right there.
Yeah.
Ex-network star commentator Mark Halperin on the latest episode of Next Up with Mark Halperin and Megyn Kelly. You named your podcast Next Up. Mm-hmm. Okay. That episode was released on YouTube on Tuesday in response to Halperin's observation that Trump's White House advisor is kind of intense on TV, and his question about why aren't calming Stephen down. Katie, a political advisor turned podcaster who has developed a penchant for on-air meltdowns, had a surprising assertion, unquote.
Yeah. Worst timeline. In the last few months, Mark Halperin has been invited to live stream with the goofs over at Barry Weiss's Free Press, to write columns for the Wall Street Journal. Yes, that Wall Street Journal. And if you choose, you can read this, quote, my last conversation with Charlie Kirk. Mark Halperin remembers a dedicated political genius who didn't hate anyone. Critics never understood that, unquote, in the Daily Mail.
Some of you may remember all the way back to last October when Newsmax rolled out its nightmare vice presidential debate blunt rotation of Matt Gaetz, Greta Van Susteren, Rob Schmidt, Mark Halperin, and Mike Huckabee. Truly a hellscape worthy of the brush of Hieronymus Bosch, Driftglass.
Yeah, I tried to watch. I just couldn't. And remember, for years and years and years, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski have been doing everything in their considerable power over at MSNBC, or now MS Now, to rehabilitate Halperin's reputation. Because after all, remember, they managed to slide a creepy fossil like Chris Matthews and a shit for brain like Chris Cillizza back into the rotation. So why not? Why is that impossible?
By the way, in case you hadn't noticed, MS Now has become a regular pundit reputation rehabilitation factory. For example, all the way back in 2012, the New York Times did a long, glowing profile of Steve Schmidt entitled A Career Resurrected After McCain and Palin. Quote, these days, helped in large part by the book and the movie Game Change, particularly the sympathetic portrayal of him in the film by Woody Harrelson, Mr. Schmidt has emerged from that car crash and settled into a lucrative and prominent existence that suggests he is the beneficiary of the kind of political resurrection Mr. Schmidt might have orchestrated for a beleaguered public figure. Instead, he orchestrated it for himself. Mr. Schmidt, going back to the article, Mr. Schmidt is the vice chairman for public affairs at one of the world's biggest public relations firms. He is a regular commentator on MSNBC, which has installed a remote camera in his sprawling rustic home. He is quoted on TV and in newspapers, including the New York Times, unquote.
And remember, this is back in 2012. Now, since then, by our count, Steve Schmidt has nuked his own career at least 3 times. Once with the Lincoln Project and sex scandal and money, just unrecoverable. But he has friends in high places and had his reputation rehabbed at least twice by his friends at MSNBC. His friends at MSNBC also rehabilitated Matthew Dowd's reputation, put him right back in the lineup. So in Slate earlier this year, Jill Filipovic wrote, quote, "A clear formula is emerging to rehabilitate certain men of #MeToo, unquote." And that article featured Mark Halperin prominently. We will now read from that article just a little bit. Quote, "Before these accusations were made publicly, Halperin was among the most powerful men in political journalism, scoring 7-figure salaries and writing the book Game Change." Wait a minute, didn't we just talk about Game Change, Blue Gal?
Halperin wrote Game Change, the book, yes.
Halperin, the Game Change writer, is the person who is indirectly responsible for rehabilitating Steve Schmidt's reputation the first time. Isn't that cool? Back to the article, and its sequel, for which he reportedly received many millions people in the advance alone. His downfall was also spectacular, coming as it did just as #MeToo felled Harvey Weinstein and gained steam. There were enough women who said Halperin had harassed or assaulted them that they started a support group, which they announced on the Megyn Kelly Today. Oh my God. Kelly's short-lived stint on Today's Show, where the commentator lauded their courage. Now Halperin is back, and sitting right next to him is Kelly, as well as a bunch of other conservative pundits. Worst fucking timeline, Blue Gal.
She doesn't believe shit. She doesn't believe shit about anything. She believes in her own career. That's
she is
it.
What is called in the trade a prostitute.
Oh.
Who will take any position for money at all.
Mm-hmm.
She'll do what other people won't do, and she'll do it for money. She's a whore. Anyway, they announced their support, as well as a bunch of other conservative pundits, many of them female. Halperin's post, #MeTooRevival, seems to have come thanks largely to his decision to ingratiate himself to the right. He was already up to his chin with the right before this all happened, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And it has worked, because a series of conservative women have welcomed him into the fold. Kelly's new podcast network, MK Media, has as one of its marquee shows Next Up with Mark Halperin. Halperin has appeared on Kelly's own show many times and has said of their partnership that he is, quote, "thrilled to play Dr. Phil to Megyn's Oprah," unquote. Jesus Christ. Kelly did not respond to requests for comment.
Yeah, because she knows how people feel about Oprah after Dr. Phil. Yeah.
Well,
so
Halperin.
The Filipovic article continues, quote, "At the height of the #MeToo, Kelly positioned herself as an advocate for women, speaking out about her own experience being harassed by Fox News' Roger Ailes. She expressed profound regret about keeping quiet about his harassment, even though she was a victim too. The truth is that I've looked back on my own life every moment from that moment forward, and do I wish I had done more," Kelly said in a video she shared on social media in 2020, "even though I was powerless, even though it would have been a suicidal move career-wise. What if I just said screw it?" Talking to another one of Ailes' victims, Kelly asked, "What if I had thrown myself into the fire back then?" And she speculated with apparent regret, maybe that wouldn't have happened to you. That sentiment seems to have evaporated.
Yeah.
It's not just Kelly who is welcoming Halperin back. Halperin's initial return to media has been facilitated by conservative, mostly male-led outlets. Right-wing radio host Michael Smerconish, and thank you for getting that right, by the way.
Yeah.
Right-wing radio host Michael Smerconish began having Halperin on in 2019. The next year, he joined Newsmax as a contributor. The year after that, the centrist group No Labels. No, see, now you just lost me.
Yeah.
The centrist group No Labels paid him more than $250,000 for his consulting services. Halperin now co-hosts a podcast with former Trump press secretary Sean Spicer. Oh, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, you mentioned this.
That all blew up last week. Status reports that the partnership between Sean Spicer and Mark Halperin blew up, and Halperin is now podcasting with Hogan Gidley instead of Sean Spicer. I don't think his audience is going to be able to tell the difference, but, Sean Spicer's gone on to start his own YouTube podcast.
Yeah, if you're watching,
it's called The Huddle.
Hogan Gidley is the guy whose head comes to a point.
Yes.
He wears his dad's discarded suits, and he has a haircut like a haystack.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you might know him. Worst timeline ever. The article continues, quote, then came the women, many of whom had claimed at one point to care about issues like sexual harassment and assault. But of course, they don't. Meghan McCain has joined Halperin's media startup Two Way as the host of her own show. So have former Bernie Sanders surrogate Nina Turner and serial Trump apologist Batya Ungar-Sargon. By this spring, Halperin was sitting in the White House briefing room where Trump press secretary Caroline Leavitt gave him the first question.
Of course she did.
Now, this is all going to make sense, but follow our logic here because we have to leave the case of Mark Halperin aside for a minute and move on to Donald Trump, who's giving the go-ahead to murder people in little boats on the high seas on the unproven allegation that they may have something to do with drugs. Lindsay Beierstein on social media points out that, quote, drug trafficking is not an act of war. This whole idea that these boats can kill millions of Americans is a fantasy land. It's based on a fake statistic about fentanyl, and they're not going to the United States, and they're not carrying fentanyl, unquote.
They're carrying Don Jr.'s cocaine is what they're carrying.
The boats don't have the capacity to this is all bullshit. It's all lies. Bullshit. Yeah.
It's a distraction from the Epstein files and a way for Trump to murder people.
Yeah.
And his goons get to murder people, which Donald Trump would love to be able to push a button and murder millions of people.
Oh, yeah.
It would make him feel powerful.
Can I use a nuke? Can I use a nuke now? Do we need to nuke Venezuela? Yeah.
So at the same time, Trump is murdering people on the high seas and refusing to produce any proof that these people were doing anything wrong at all. He's also doing this. This from the New York fucking Times. Quote, President Trump formally pardoned former President Juan Orlando Hernandez of Honduras on Monday evening, fulfilling a vow he had made days before to free an ex-president who was at the center of what the authorities had characterized as one of the largest and most violent drug trafficking conspiracies in the world. Mr. Trump pledged to issue the pardon last week after Mr. Hernandez sent him a 4-page letter casting himself as a victim of political persecution by the Biden-Harris administration. So he knew exactly what to say.
Yep.
And comparing his fate to that of the American president, unquote. Lawfare.
My understanding is this was facilitated by Roger Stone.
Yes, I heard that too.
And Roger Stone knew exactly what words to put in what order that would get Trump
Roger
push
Stone
all Trump's
doesn't
buttons.
Ever do any cocaine, does he?
No. Roger Stone is cocaine, Blue Cow. And it's that last sentence in the article we're going to focus on. This, also from the New York fucking Times a few days earlier, has the direct quote that I want us to focus on. Quote, for many Hondurans, his conviction was a rare taste of justice. A woman in a crowd outside the courthouse celebrated his punishment by holding up a sign that read, no clemency for narco-politics. But on Saturday, Mr. Trump said in a statement to the New York Times that many friends, Roger Stone, had asked him to pardon Hernandez. And here's the quote. They gave him 45 years because he was president of the country. You could do this to any president, unquote.
And that's how Stone rubbed it all over Trump.
Yeah. They could do this to you.
This is happening just the way it happened to you in New York.
Yeah.
And it's so unfair. And you can do something about it.
That's right.
And now back to our language lesson, the word sacral and the anointed king problem. There's a reason why these protests this year were called No Kings, by the way.
Exactly.
Time out for a little bit of history, because for most of human history, kings and emperors weren't just the face on the coins and statues. They were the load-bearing beams of cosmic order and justice. Touching them was like yanking out the wrong Jenga block and hoping the gods didn't notice. The official story went something like this. The anointed king wasn't just in charge. He was plugged directly into the divine power grid. So killing him wasn't politics. It was cosmic vandalism. It was like pulling the fire alarm in heaven. Cultures across the world wired this taboo into their operating systems because, frankly, it kept the lights on and the peasants in line.
Yeah. And I have to emphasize, they really believe this.
Oh, yeah.
They truly believed this was true. When you took an oath on the Bible, they truly believed you would be burned in hell if you broke it. So the way we talk about and take religion now is vastly different than what they felt back then. They genuinely believed that an anointed king was God's representative. And if you fuck with them, you're causing your country will be destroyed.
Yep.
Something bad will happen. So if you've ever seen the 1971 movie Nicholas and Alexandria, you may remember it for the amazing cast. Do you remember John Wood, the guy who played Stephen Fawking in War Games? He played Colonel Kobylinski. If you are watching the movie, keep an eye out for a very young Brian Cox, believe it or not, playing Trotsky. Our very own, yours and mine, Blue Gal, Doctor Who, our first Doctor Who, Tom Baker, played Rasputin, if you can believe it. He was awesome. Jack Hawkins is in here. Steve Burkhoff, better known as Victor Maitland. Beverly Hills Cop is in there. Ian Holm is there. Laurence Olivier. Stacked cast. Pretty good movie. Not saying great, but it's a pretty good movie. Anyway, if you've seen it, you may remember a moment near the end after the Bolsheviks had stripped the Romanovs of their palaces and their possessions and their titles. They're being held prisoner in a shack while the Bolsheviks are deciding what to do with them. But their captors are still treating them with a little bit of deference and respect. After all, at this point, the Romanov dynasty had ruled Russia for over 300 years. Then one of the guards attacks the little boy, the son, the family's son, trying to steal his itty-bitty gold cross. And there was a struggle, and then this happened.
You're dead. That's all you know about. You murdered everything. You heard him, and by God, you struck the Tsar.
And after that, there follows a long pause, as if everyone is waiting to see if God will strike them all dead for doing the unthinkable, for laying hands on the Tsar. And when nothing happens, the spell is broken, and the fate of the Romanovs is sealed.
Yep. They're all going to die now.
Yep, because they know there's no consequence. God is not watching them. There is no God watching over them.
That long pause was caused by centuries of conditioning to believe that if you kill an anointed king, you face severe consequences because the act is considered a grave offense against God. In the biblical narrative of David, the Amalekite, who claimed to have killed King Saul, was executed by David for this very reason, as David saw the act as a direct affront to God's anointed ruler.
For example, in Europe, where kings ruled Rex Dei Gratia, by the grace of God, which is a fancy Latin way of saying, if you touch him, you'll burn in hell forever. That's why the beheading of Charles I in 1649 fried so many contemporary circuits. People who hated him still thought it was a very, very bad idea to lop off the head of someone God had personally anointed as his divine representative on earth. And when Henry IV of France got shanked in 1610 by a religious nut, the whole country freaked out like heaven itself had been mugged in a back alley. The sanctity of the kingship was so deeply woven into the culture that regicide felt like someone had gone and kicked over the entire cosmic beehive.
And by the way, this is why Napoleon crowning himself instead of allowing the church to do it was both a ballsy move and an incredibly stupid move.
Yeah.
It was very egotistical, but also it removed power from Napoleon.
Right. He was not
because
anointed by God.
He didn't have the endorsement of the church and of God to be king.
Exactly. And again, they took this stuff very seriously.
Yeah. I remember when I was in college, Prince Charles in England saying, look, I'm really not going to do this whole Church of England stuff. I'm going to be king of all of England, regardless of your religion, and we're going to be a pluralistic society. And everybody lost their goddamn mind.
Yeah.
Because why do you think you're king?
Defender
you're king
of the
because you're head of the church.
Defender of the faith.
You're defender of the faith, you bullshit artist.
Why do you think your ancestor, your king, your religious ancestor, broke from the Catholic Church, dude?
Exactly. The whole point. The whole point of the British monarch is to be the head of the church.
The Church of England.
Of England.
Yeah.
And, I think he changed his mind later, because he had to sit around for 50 years then.
Yeah. Mom had a talk with him.
Yeah. Whatever. 40 years later, he finally at 78 or whatever gets to be king for 5 minutes. Yeah. All right. China had its own version of this don't kill the boss taboo turned up to 11. The emperor wasn't just a ruler, he was the son of heaven, the human router through which cosmic harmony flowed. Killing him openly would have been like smashing the thermostat of the universe. So they didn't do that ever. Even when coups happened, and they definitely happened, the murdered emperor, like the Jianwan emperor, was quietly airbrushed out of reality rather than admitted into the killed by my uncle Hall of Fame. Anything was better than confessing the unthinkable that someone had actually iced the guy whose existence kept heaven and earth from canceling each other.
Yeah.
So you just pretended he never existed, and this new king was just always there.
Yeah. It is. We're just all going to collectively pretend this never happened. And being a king was like being a made man in the mob, being a mafia don. You don't fuck with them. The only person who's allowed to do that is another king, another anointed king. And then you've got the ancient Near East and Egypt, where kings were basically demigods with administrative duties. When someone offered Mursili the first of the Hittites, when someone whacked him, the official scribes treated it like a divine crime scene. There were plagues and famine and cosmic meltdowns. In Egypt, killing a pharaoh would have destroyed the delicate cosmic order. So even when the knives came out, the PR department quickly slapped a "God wanted this way" label on it and walked away. Because across time and geography, the rule was the same. You don't kill the anointed ruler unless you want the universe to shit the bed. And even then, you better pretend that it didn't happen, that you didn't do it. And you'd best not lay hands on the boss's men either.
The Egyptians, led by the advisors of King Ptolemy XIII, assassinated Pompey after he fled to Alexandria hoping for aid. They presented his severed head to Caesar, believing this would please him and earn their favor, because at this point Caesar and Pompey they'd been fighting a bloody civil war for over a decade. But instead, Caesar was furious. Ancient sources, particularly the biographer Plutarch, report that Caesar reacted with disgust, turned away from the messenger in loathing, and burst into tears upon receiving Pompey's seal ring. So today, since God is no longer in the picture in quite the same way he was during the age of kings and czars, what sacral elements have replaced the hand of the divine when it comes to bestowing authority and legitimacy?
Yeah. In this country, it's no big secret. To find out, all you need to do is look at America's original marketing material, the Declaration of Independence, where the creator is still there, still hanging around, but only as a grantor of divine rights, which we the people are responsible for defending. Quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from" what, Blue Gal? "From the consent of the governed. That's why any form of government becomes destructive to these ends. It is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness." Unquote. Couldn't be clearer.
Here in our democratic republic, we like to brag to the world that we have no kings or emperors. That founding father John Adams said as much when he famously called a republic, quote, "a government of laws, not of men." John Adams' cousin and fellow founding father Samuel Adams observed that the rule of law means that, quote, "there shall be one rule of justice for rich and poor." We're living in the worst timeline, Driftglass.
I know.
"For the favorite in court and the countryman at the plow."
Yeah. And there we have the sacred pillars that hold up our democracy: the will of the people and the rule of law. And this is where things have gone horribly wrong, because Republican Party stopped believing in these foundational principles a very long time ago. Thanks to the cumulative effect of Richard Nixon's racist Southern strategy, the infusion of conservative evangelical Christians into the center of Republican politics, and the decades of relentless propagandizing by hate radio and Fox News, the Republican base no longer believes in a government of laws, not of men. They just don't. Republicans believe that we Democrats are not just an opposition party with whom they may have some disagreements. They believe we are either Satan's representative on earth or we are the dupes of Satan's representative here on earth. Either way, they believe the Democratic Party is an existential threat to the United States, their United States, and therefore no Democratic president or Democratic majority in the legislatures is legitimate, period, ever. We're an illegitimate party. That is why they treated Bill Clinton the way they did, why they appointed Robert Fisk as a special prosecutor in January of 1994, and when he gave Clinton a clean bill of health, they fired him and hired Ken Starr to go on his 4-year fishing expedition.
And this is why they treated Barack Obama the way they did, blocking and sabotaging anything he tried to do, and using their giant megaphones to slander him nonstop, often in the most openly racist terms imaginable. That's why the official Republican position on the 2020 election is that it was stolen by Democrats.
Yeah. Worst timeline. Conversely, since Republicans have convinced themselves that they are fighting pure evil sent from hell, they believe they're acting with a semi-divine authority to take any action they believe is necessary to defeat satanic forces, that's you and me, Blue Gal, here on earth.
How many times have you heard evangelicals claim that the Trump presidency was ordained by Almighty God and sanctified by the voice of the people? The fact that more than half of the people did not vote for him, and in fact, the largest protest in the history of the planet was against him, none of that matters, just as the fact that Joe Biden won does not matter.
Yeah, because to Republicans, the only legitimate political voices are theirs. Therefore, they and they alone are the true voice of the people. And as flawed as he may be, because, Blue Gal, they never liked the tweeting.
They never liked the tweeting.
They never liked the tweeting. Trump is God's instrument here on earth. He is America's Cyrus the Great.
And as for the rules of law, well, as Oscar Benavides, the former president of Peru, once said, "For my friends, anything. For my enemies, the law." Which is why we called special attention to that last paragraph of the New York Times article quoting Trump on pardoning Hernandez. They gave him 45 years because he was president of the country. You could do this to any president. Again, that's right out of Roger Stone's mouth. In the Republican universe, the full weight of the law should only ever be brought down on the necks of people who oppose the dear leader, or people who say mean things about the dear leader.
For example, Tim O'Brien, who Trump sued for defamation over Trump Nation, and that case was dismissed.
The New York Times, who Trump sued for reporting on tax records.
CNN, who Trump threatened or filed suits over bias claims.
Univision, Jorge Ramos, who Trump sued over Miss Universe contract cancellation.
The Trump University students, who Trump countersued for defamation before he settled.
Hillary Clinton, who Trump repeatedly demanded the DOJ prosecute, i.e. lock her up.
James Comey, who Trump fired as FBI director, Trump called for his prosecution, and that case is in the process of falling apart if it hasn't already.
Andrew McCabe, Trump former FBI deputy director, who was investigated by Trump's DOJ.
John Kerry, who Trump asked for the DOJ to investigate over Iran contacts.
But not Tom Cotton.
Oh, of course not, because he's a Republican.
The Clinton Foundation, which Trump's DOJ investigated multiple times.
Let's not forget Barack Obama. Trump promoted Obamagate and then claimed some crimes had happened with no evidence whatsoever.
Joe Biden, who Trump claimed should be investigated.
Nancy Pelosi, who Trump said committed treason and called for her prosecution.
Adam Schiff, who Trump accused of crimes and called for prosecution. That case fell apart real quick.
Yeah, Robert Mueller, who Trump claimed had committed crimes.
John Brennan, who Trump demanded be investigated and prosecuted.
And of course, Antifa members, and we're Antifa members, Blue Gal, and protesters who Trump demanded the DOJ classify as terrorists.
Plus, God knows how many journalists who Trump suggested the DOJ should arrest. It's also why ICE goons are turned loose on the streets of America to terrorize brown people and anyone who stands between the ICE goons and their victims.
Yeah, but conversely, the rule of law should never be applied to friends of the dear leader, especially elected officials, as was the case with the anointed kings of old. If the precedent is ever established that friends and allies of the dear leader can be tried and convicted and sentenced, well, goddamn, eventually they could come after Trump. And that can never be allowed to happen, Blue Gal. It's why Trump pardoned Hernandez.
It's why Trump used the old auto pen to pardon every single one of the January 6th traitors.
Yeah, all 1,500 of them. And with the pardon of Representative Henry Cuellar, Democrat of Texas, who had been accused of bribery and corruption, Trump has now racked up a record of pardoning 11 members of Congress and 1 governor, 10 Republicans and 2 Democrats, and all but Cuellar had been convicted. The others are, after you, Blue Gal,
Chris Collins, Republican of New York, for insider trading.
Duncan Hunter, Republican of California, for campaign corruption.
Steve Stockman, Republican of Texas, for campaign corruption.
Rick Renzi, Republican of Arizona, corruption.
Robin Hayes, Republican of North Carolina, lying to the FBI.
Mark Silander, Republican Michigan, obstruction and lying.
Duke Cunningham, Republican of California, bribery.
Michael Grimm, Republican New York, tax evasion.
John Rowland, Republican of Connecticut, corruption.
George Santos, Republican of New York, also corruption.
Rod Blagojevich, Democratic governor of Illinois, corruption.
Yeah.
Trying to sell Barack Obama's Senate seat. That's what it was.
Yeah, went to federal prison and Trump pardoned him and he became a Republican. This is what Republicans hold sacred, that they and only they are acting with a mandate from God, that their voice and only their voice is the voice of God, and that the law is a holy hand grenade that should be used only against their enemies and the enemies of the dear leader. Right?
Okay, fine. We got all that, but what I want to know is, what does all that have to do with Mark Halperin?
Well, Blue Gal, that is a very fair question, and I shall endeavor to answer it in under 3 hours. So,
how about under 3 minutes?
So strap in, America. So when you look at all the monsters Trump has pardoned, it's clear that his highest value, other than money, which is always his highest value, is fear. Fear of consequences, fear that if the law can bring down other bad men, that it might be able to take him down too, and that cannot be allowed. And because MAGA is a cult, the priorities and values of the dear leader become the priorities and values of the MAGA mob. They believe they and the dear leader are a team. You know, Blue Gal, they're a team, that they're all in this together. And that's when the whole concept of accountability gets turned on its head. So if you want to understand why any group of people are doing what they're doing, even though to the outside world it looks insane, first try to understand what that group values the most, what makes them stick together. Now, with that lens in your hand, take a close look at the state of the American media today. So many incompetent hacks have jobs for life at major American newspapers and magazines. So many creeps and mediocrities who inexplicably keep getting second and third and fourth reputation rehabs so they can be restored to professional respectability, which they should never have had in the first place. So with all that in mind, what is the highest value of that group? What is it that they hold so sacred that even as layoffs ravage their ranks and decent reporters being handed pink slips, they are still willing to keep giving the same third-rate assholes and mopes second chances over and over and over again? Clearly, what they value most is not the ethical standards of their profession or the sacred duty with which our founding documents entrusted them right there in the First Amendment, Blue Gal. Quote, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, unquote. Their highest value, the thing they hold sacred, is not remotely related to any of that 18th century nonsense. Today, the media's highest value is very much like Trump's in-group self-protection. No matter how badly they fuck up, what happens to in-group club members like Chris Cillizza or Mark Halperin or Matthew Dowd or Stephen Schmidt and on and on and on cannot be allowed to stand. A place must be made for them, somewhere where they can have a title and interview people and spew their opinions. Might be a halfway house where they can keep paying the bills until enough time has passed so they can be slipped back into the main lineup like, Michael Steele. Or it might be a career hospice situation where they can still wear a suit and act important and draw a paycheck and occasionally show up second or third hand in the main lineup. But at all costs, accountability for their incompetence, stupidity, and or perviness that would have them flipping burgers or bagging groceries must be avoided at all costs. Because if anyone ever starts holding any one of them accountable, the way anyone else in any other profession would be held accountable, then all of them would be at risk. And that, Blue Gal, cannot be allowed.
This will not stand, This aggression will not stand, man.
I also think, Driftglass, going through those lists of pardons.
Yeah.
And yes, Mark Halperin keeps getting pardoned by right-wing media because his crime was being a pervert to women.
Right.
Well, that's the business model of Fox News.
Of course.
And the workplace, I remember a colleague at Crooks and Liars, before she started working for Crooks and Liars, she'd been, I think at CNN, or perhaps she'd been somewhere where she wound up going and having a meeting with someone at Fox. And she walked in and she said, "It's a whorehouse.
Yes, it is.
It's women in miniskirts and perverted men chasing them around in between the carols, And so there's that, and the tremendous misogyny that Donald Trump has toward women. Women are, if they're not sex objects, if they don't have the Mar-a-Lago look and the tits and are subservient, then they're ugly, stupid, evil, whore, whatever. They are worth calling names all day long. That's it. But the other pardons, so many of those pardons were for extracting money from office.
Yes.
Which is what Donald Trump is all about.
That's his whole presidency.
So if anyone else at an elected federal level is guilty of that as a crime, then Donald Trump has crime attached to him. So we're going to pardon everybody who's done that, including a couple Democrats. I'm waiting to see if he's going to pardon Bob Menendez. If Roger Stone, I'll bet you Bob Menendez's people are saying you ought to write to Roger Stone.
Yeah, send him a couple of those ingots of gold you've got in your
that you had in your closet, right?
Yeah.
And get Roger Stone on your side, and he'll get pardoned. Because it can't be a crime to extract money from office, because it's what I do all day long.
Well, and when you look at that combination of the misogyny, which is straight out of right-wing evangelical Christianity,
right?
And you look at that unwillingness to prosecute anyone for corruption,
right?
MAGA, if it were a Democrat, would be up in arms, would be rioting in the streets. But they really do believe that their side is on God's side.
And doing it is in the service of the Lord. You can lie, you can cheat. As long as you're serving Jesus, you're forgiven. Right. And it's actually, you're to be lauded for it because you're serving Jesus.
And if you go after Donald Trump, you're going after the anointed king of America.
Right.
The man touched by God and ordained
and that's
to
why he
rule
held
over
up
us.
The Bible in front of the church during the Black Lives Matter protests.
Why he has his own brand of Bible.
White nationalism, Bible, me. That's the message. Very simple words,
And they got the message. They absolutely got the message. And that's why you don't go after, in the olden days, an anointed king.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, you destroy the order of the universe. If Donald Trump were impeached or removed from office, it would destroy America. It would destroy the moral order of the universe. Everything would come to an end. The sun would explode. We'd all die. Somewhere in their hearts, most Republicans kind of believe that. And a lot of them believe that a lot, believe it wholeheartedly.
And now I was reading a story today about how, on the fringes, and it's moving toward the center of the Republican Party, getting rid of the 19th Amendment, preventing women from voting.
Yep. Well,
is on the list. If we can get everything out of, Project 2025, why can't we prevent women from voting?
And I got a questionnaire in the mail from Hillsdale College.
Oh, gosh. I don't know how Junior Dude got on that list.
I don't know, but bless him.
I'm glad he did.
I am. And I will read the whole thing on Tuesday, I promise. But it's a, and here you can't see me air quoting, survey. And all the survey questions are, what do you think about the Democrats' unconstitutional desire to end the Electoral College, which was created by our founding fathers and is blessed by God? Huh? What do you think about that? Huh? By the way, if you want to continue to support our work, would you like to give $5, $10, $15, or $20? That's your choice, whatever you want. But every fucking question on one half of this is about the Electoral College and how much you love the Electoral College and how it saves our democracy and how our founding fathers blah, blah, blah. Because they're fucking terrified of a popular vote.
Which is absurd because there's 50,000 registered Republicans in California whose vote for president is never counted.
Yeah.
There's thousands and thousands of Republicans, registered Republicans in New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, the whole northeastern seaboard, whose votes for president are never counted.
Well, yeah.
Because of the Electoral College. Yeah.
Well, in Illinois. I mean, the same thing. However, in the aggregate, if we got rid of the Electoral College, Republicans would never win the White House again.
Well, that's not true because Trump won the popular vote in 2024, allegedly.
And he did. And look what happened to all those Hispanics that he loved so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look at all the people who caught on finally. But if you nationalize the election with eliminating the Electoral College, you get rid of the dumb primaries in Iowa. You get rid of people. You have to have people campaigning everywhere for every vote. And suddenly you have people who have to actually come out here and talk to people like us.
Right, exactly. It is a convenience for the media more than anything else.
Exactly.
That they don't have to nationalize or all the, the thing is it's supposed to give power to the small states, the states with small populations, which means it helps Republicans, obviously.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But those small states otherwise are ignored during election cycles.
They certainly
and you would not be able to ignore them without the Electoral College. If you remove the Electoral College. It needs to go.
It's number 7 on my list, but
and that was the other thing I wanted to suggest to people as an exercise in sanity, which is start a little notebook of items that you want to happen in the Trump backlash, because we need to start mentally thinking. And I'm not talking about that this is some kind of, we're going to manifest this by focusing on it at bedtime. No, I'm not doing that Oprah crap. I'm just saying
it doesn't work that way.
Keep a goddamn list because on paper of things that we're going to work toward, not in some sort of woo-woo mental way, but literally work toward and start demanding it of our Congresspeople. I did get a call back from Dick Durbin's office about health insurance prices, and the woman that I spoke to was on Dick Durbin's staff and is a policy person and was horrified by the amount we're spending every month next year on health insurance.
Yep.
She said it was a gut punch to read that number, and she's right.
Yeah.
And then I got a letter from Nikki Budzinski, who is the Democratic, highly gerrymandered district, Illinois 13, not going to lie, but she's my congresswoman. And it was a long letter. And it was all about all of the things that she's doing as a House member in the minority who is a backbencher. And that's all I've ever wanted from my congresswoman is a competent backbencher, right? She's not a rock star.
Preferably,
she's there to work on the farm bill.
Preferably in the majority. Let's say that.
But that's the thing.
Right.
Her letter to me was about, I'm co-sponsoring this bill about healthcare. I'm co-sponsoring this bill about Medicaid. I'm co-sponsoring this bill. And she's not writing these bills. She's not, like I said, she's a backbencher. She's there to support the farm bill. She's there to, elect a House Speaker who's a Democrat.
Right.
And at some point we'll have to talk about Hakeem Jeffries and what he really ought to be doing. But the idea, she's co-sponsoring all of this legislation in her job as a House member who doesn't have a lot of clout within that. She's only been there 2 terms. But she's doing everything right, but she's in the minority.
Right.
So none of these bills are going to get passed unless there's some sort of earthquake.
But that's her list.
But
if
that's
we
her
get the
list,
majority.
and she's on my side.
Right.
And that's all she can do right now.
Right. And there is a very good chance that we will be in the majority after the midterms.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's why you hear a lot about Republican resignations.
Yes. Right
because
now.
it's no fun being in the minority when the majority party is just dictating what the agenda is going to be and what bills are going to be called and so forth. And for my list, I'm starting with Tommy Lee Jones's post-abolition list from Lincoln, where we seize all property in red states and redistribute it and put soldiers there with guns to force that to happen. And that's not going to happen, but it's on my list. I'd like to see it happen.
Well, and there was an article today about what is going to happen this next year. And some reporter had talked to a retired Republican senator who was unnamed, which I hate. That's what they are. And he said, what was deadlines for registering for primaries? As soon as those deadlines pass and congressmen and senators know exactly who is registered to run against them in a primary, that's when you're going to see a flood of resignation, because these guys are not used to running against another Republican in a primary.
That's right.
And they don't want the bullshit. They don't want death threats because they're not MAGA enough. Most of them are over 60 anyway.
Right.
And it's better to just go off and get a consulting job with some lobbyist somewhere. Or be on a board somewhere. Or go play golf.
Or appear as a regular on the Mark Halperin podcast.
Or you could be on the Mark Halperin podcast analyzing what these new Republicans are all about.
That's right.
In the minority.
Don't let David Axelrod have all the fun.
Don't let David Axelrod have all the fun. Hey, guys, each week we post to our Patreon page and website an Internet Kitty sent in by you, the listeners. This week's Internet Kitty is Bun Bun, not Bun Bun Stew. Bun Stew is a rabbit. Bun Bun is a kitty. And Bun Bun's human writes us and says, I'd like to submit Bun Bun, a semi-feral black cat. Driftglass.
Yeah.
We have a house up the street from us.
Yeah.
That's known as Kitty Corner.
Yeah.
And the owner of that house says, oh, well, they're feral.
Bullshit.
No, they come inside when it's cold, and there's always food on the back porch. And they sit on the front porch like they own the house.
Yeah, which they think they do at this
feral.
point. No.
And it reminded me of Bun Bun.
Yeah.
Bun Bun comes to my back door, says the human, for freshly poured cat food and to sit on my lap for a few minutes when I'm trying to get stuff done at my desk. Then Bun Bun jumps down and looks at the screen door to let me know that I need to let her back out. She has me very well trained.
Ha.
And today I learned that a clipped ear on a kitty means they have been trapped, neutered, and released by a local cat protection agency, like the ASPCA or the shelter. And so this has happened to Bun Bun. Bun Bun has a little clip off of her ear, and we're glad that Bun Bun has caring medical attention to support her outdoor lifestyle.
It's a choice. It's the lifestyle choice.
She has an outdoor lifestyle.
Right.
I think that's better than semi-feral in this case.
Yeah. I'm glamping, okay? I'm glamping out here.
The glamping is always, with these semi-feral cats.
And when it rains, I'm done glamping. I'll be inside.
Because we don't glamp in the rain, people.
That's crazy.
And of course, Bun Bun eats freshly poured cat food because she's not glamping all the time.
No.
Freshly Poured Cat Food is our fake sponsor. Whether you serve pet store perfection or dollar store dreck, your kitty will knock on your door and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured.
Freshly poured, freshly poured. Oh my Lord, it's freshly poured.
And you can visit Bun Bun at our Patreon page, patreon.com/proleftpod, or our website, proleftpod.com. And you can send your internet kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can also write to both of us. Feel free to write us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service. Go, postal unions! Letter on the air unless you say otherwise. May I also thank everyone who wrote kind words to me about my dad.
Yes. Great guy.
Driftglass and my dad are on Zoom twice a week, Thursday mornings and Sunday mornings, doing the New York Times crossword puzzle in ink. And this morning, you guys finished the puzzle in 20 minutes even.
We did. Both on fire. We were both on fire.
On fuego.
Yes, we were.
It's a lot of fun.
It is.
And I just referee. I have the answers, and all I'm allowed to say is yes or no.
No clues. No clues.
If they ask me if that's the answer, I'm allowed to say yes. But otherwise,
that's it.
I just sit there and look at the answers and let them go. Oh, and I'm also the timekeeper.
Yes.
But it's a fun way to be with Dad. And as he said, I'm getting the good drugs. Yeah. Home hospice is great because somebody checks on him all the time.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, hospice workers are angels on this earth.
Angels, absolutely. Yep.
And they come and see him and make sure that, he has a clean bed, make sure he has what he needs. And my sister lives a block from my dad, so she's over every morning anyway.
Yeah.
But she's not a doctor.
Right.
And the medical, professionals that come, they do have the morphine shots if he needs them. Right now, I think he's doing okay in that regard, but you don't know. My mom at the end of her life had home hospice and was in bed with her dog and had morphine all the time.
Exactly.
And, it's what you get what you need and you do what you got to do. And so
we should make clear that doing the New York Times crossword puzzle with your dad is not an act of charity.
No.
I'm all doing it. It's a blast.
It's so fun.
It's so much fun. He's a fun guy. He's a very nice man. I do think of him as a dad.
Oh yeah.
And I really
rag
value
on each other a little bit.
We do. We're both men of Chicago, more or less.
Yeah.
And we have fun with each other. I value the time I get to spend with him. I really do value it.
No, he's a hoot.
Yep.
Loves his grandkids. Still making art.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And fuck cancer. That's what I have to say.
Fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer.
Yeah. Yep.
And as I said to my 3 kids, when I let them know what was going on and that it was going to be home hospice and so forth, and I said, if anybody can flunk hospice, it's Grumps. Jimmy Carter went for how long?
Yeah.
At hospice. It was like,
Jesus.
Okay, another year. Going to make it to 100 or close to it. My dad will be 90 in February. I send him adventure books, like thriller books with a slightly drunk investigator out in the highway. The whole system's corrupt and he uncovers it, that kind of thing.
Right.
And he said, I just finished one and the sequel's coming out in April. I hope I make it.
We hope you do too, Grumps.
I said, that's why I don't kill myself, because Margaret Atwood is writing another book right now and I don't want to miss it. In this terrible timeline, we can always, the only thing I can count on is Driftglass, my cats, and Margaret Atwood.
Damn it. Of course, the wonderful listeners to the Professional
and our
podcast.
wonderful listeners who write to me and say nice things and let me know their experiences and offer prayers and good thoughts and everything else. And you guys are just great. And I deeply appreciate it. It means I'm not alone.
And we should mention that in addition to missing Tuesday, which was unavoidable, we survived Winter Storm Bellamy, which included snow thunder, about 8 to 10 inches of snow, and then a little more snow on top of that. Right now, it's 3 degrees outside or so.
Oh, geez.
Record cold, which is another way of saying we need hot coffee real bad.
Yes, we do.
So this is your friendly reminder about our gourmet coffee guidelines. If you're able to treat yourself to an espresso-based beverage, we're freezing in here. So we ask that you consider treating us to one as well, because this is not charity. This is how we support the work that we do. If you can spare just $5 a month or more, we'd be very grateful for your support at proleftpod.com/proleftpod. We also take Venmo. So just look for us.
Actually, it's patreon.com/proleftpod.
I make that mistake all the time.
I
apologize. It's late and I need coffee, Blue Gal.
Oh, okay. Well, you might have to make a fresh pot.
Now I gotta go.
Yeah, and we take Venmo, and if you look up Pro Left Pod on the Venmo app. Our picture is there, and you'll see that's our account.
And another way you can help us that costs nothing is by sharing our show on social media. You probably know someone in your life who would love this podcast. Introduce us to them, and then we'll find out what happens. Maybe we'll click, maybe we won't. But thank you so much for helping us grow.
We are going to be on the Hal Sparks program next Wednesday morning, the 10th.
Oh, good Lord.
And then we are scheduled to be on the Bob Seska show on the following Wednesday morning is when we'll record it. I think he puts it out in the afternoon, the 17th. So we're sorry that we missed Tuesday, but you're going to get a lot of Driftglass and Blue Gale this month, I promise.
Yeah, because Bob has to edit out all the swears, and there's a lot of swears.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties are hoping to make a small fortune with their new line of farewell cards for Trump regime stooges who are about to lose their jobs, and they've already finished the prototype. Here it is. Best of luck in your next adventure, Alina Haba.
Let's think about living.
Think about living.
Let's think about loving.
Think about loving.
Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.